In the near future, against the background of exhaustion of world reserves of natural minerals and general impoverishment, public orders considerably reeled. The most part of the population appeared below the poverty line and is forced to throw familiar spots and to go to refugee camps, where there is at least a small hope for survival. But also, whether their disorders in one of days, more often flash the chaplain Peter comes to hospital to visit the fatally sick wife, B. He admits to the woman that he wants to leave with her, but she persuades the man not to hurry. God told it that for him other very important and responsible way, because Saint Petersburg does not even represent what he's capable of, is prepared. After the death of the wife, the executive director, see Vivian Haydar, contacts the chaplain and shows the video message by the magnate and old antagonist Peter David Morgan, founder of Colony, on recently opened the exoplanets similar to the desert, but nevertheless are suitable for human life. Morgan literally begs the chaplain to arrive to the planet without explaining why it was required to him, and it, in spite of the fact that men were hot opponents in a question of creation of the planet of a shelter for the minimum number of persons in need. First, Morgan opposed planting of religion there, and now considers that the colony without man of God cannot exist. Peter agrees, having learned that Morgan offers very impressive help for his arrival on the Earth that will help a large number of people. It is elementary to survive before sending the chaplain there. Takes place comprehensive medical examination. The price of sending for an oasis of 100 million. It will also be offensive if he dies in way of a disease, but everything appears normal, despite some anguish. And here the man meets the partners on a travel among whom there are people of applied specialties, and the team goes to the spaceport. Stewart helps travelers to settle down correctly in chairs. They are weighted by an artificial coma. For the period of a jump, the takeoff during which Peter remembers the left wife begins. So far, consciousness does not leave it, and 1,000 eyes remaining on the ruined Earth of people see off the spaceship, hoping for rescue of mankind. The new planet meets newcomers by very coldly dust storms, and strong wind of people bring out of a coma and see off in the underground bunker. Having learned that Saint Petersburg, the priest working, meet him with skepticism as nobody expected its arrival, and natives have great doubts in its usefulness. Meanwhile, Morgan's deputy and the chief executive of Colony, Victor of Danish, a swarm holds a meeting as workers demand to begin drilling that to extract water. But Donnick reminds that his friend and the chief gave the accurate order not to do anything before its return. The security officer of Colony, Sarah Keller, reports to it on arrival of the chaplain, of which nobody waited. But if the missionary was invited by Morgan, he needs to be met and to arrange well. But at first, Danish is safer to order, to check the past of the chaplain. At this time, Petter and his companions are brought shower, but by a problem that there is no water long ago, and nobody did a new well. So far, people wash special blue foams and wet towel wipes. Later, all newcomers receive special inoculations which help an organism to get used to oxygen mix, and obligatory the bug helping to trace their residence. The doctor warns that on the planet, headaches and visual hallucinations because of pressure of unusual are possible. The atmosphere on an optic nerve. A time later, the man goes to a lunch during which Danish welcomes newcomers who became representatives and builders of the new world. A lot of things depend on them. According to plans, the finished look, and the oasis can accept about 5,000 families. Now, well drilling on water is interrupted. But at first, the project people overcame a set of obstacles. And if our uniform will be able to solve also it separately. Danish welcomes the chaplain that causes snickers of attendees, but Peter takes the floor in which he admits that too not always trusted. Life is too incomprehensible to consider itself the expert on everyone and everything. But he sees around the face of the daredevils who offered families and the house for the sake of new life of mankind, and he's ready to listen anything and to help, then we'll be able. After St. Petersburg lunch, see off in its cabin. Each of them is the device on which send letters home, and get all news of the colony accompanying activates the account for St. Petersburg and hands it medicine, which will help the chaplain to fall asleep. On an oasis, it is necessary to fill up, otherwise it will be very bad. but does not say specifically in what it is expressed. At this time, Sarah in the cabin writes down and sends the letter for the daughter. Remained on the earth the woman very much misses and hopes that the father will allow the girl to answer quicker. Meanwhile, Petter, studying personal, receives on him the message from the quote from the book by Matvey so far, and hears the wife's voice reminding of its hard but important way at night. In the morning, the missionary goes outside where the quiet, sunny weather was established and goes to get acquainted with the place where he was thrown by destiny. Soon it meets the girl by the name of Alicia, who tells that they are watched by drones everywhere, and there are no tickets for the Earth yet and is not expected. But here, on a question of Morgan's location, all for some reason are silent. Here Peter receives a call from Further goes on base, and having entered, sees how the woman dances in front of the huge screen on which water laps. Having admired this show, he goes to an office of the chief and accidentally eavesdrops on a conversation of workers to the devilry which is taken away here. Meanwhile, Sarah Keller makes jog on the desert. Danish meets the chaplain watchfully and is interested. How exactly Morgan invited him to an oasis. That remembers the words of the magnate about the man of God. And then Danish admits that David Morgan did not return from the last research trip to the desert, and in general recently the chief behaved very strange. At first it stopped drilling at the catastrophic shortage of water, and then instead of the designer caused the earth of the priest and completely disappeared in the desert. At this time in Sar's desert, hears a voice of the daughter and sees the girl among Barkans, following this vision. Sarah finds the Mars rover on which David Morgan made the last excursion, half buried in sand with the broken and blood-stained windguard. There is no person inside, but there is a bag with a box full of medicines. More safely, TSA immediately causes Further and reports to it about a find. At this time, Saint Petersburg goes to the recreation room where has to expect persons interested to communicate to the priest. Meanwhile, the biologist Sai, who arrived with Saint Petersburg, gets to work on hydroponic installation, a greenhouse. Also, it becomes clear that he also cannot read to a dyslexia the instruction to stands, and to Saint Petersburg come one visitor. Having returned to colony, Sarah Keller shows to the chief a box with antibiotics and insists on creation of search group for Morgan's search, but Further refuses. The boss himself cut out the indicator, so does not want to be found. He orders to bring together crew and to begin to drill. At this time, the driller Haran tells a floor to St. Petersburg about the father who since childhood dragged it on a hippodrome. Therefore, the boy very much loved horses, and when grew, bought a foal. A floor itself looked after him and well remembers eyes of a horse. When the horse began to participate in jumps, a floor bribed the veterinarian, and that pumped up an animal medicines. From what the horse fell. Before the finish, a floor had to shoot down the horse. The man remembered it well as the most awful act, but the strangest that he saw the horse here on an oasis. Here all see something or hear. And then there is a fatal accident. Despite young age of colony, at their cemetery already 3 gravestones. Here the message from Further about the beginning of drilling comes, and a floor forgets about the troubles. Finally, having advised to talk to Sarah, the chaplain goes to an office more safely, Titsi, where finds a backpack of Morgan in which cards with religious images lie. Sarah cannot explain where there is their founder and refuses to discuss accidents, but shows personal business of St. Petersburg, where impartial affairs of its past are reflected. The chaplain explains that he met the girl who took him to God. There comes the chief of a greenhouse following morning, is surprised on the new assembled equipment which was made by the website. It appears the guy the real genius regarding cultivation of plants in difficult conditions, and begins at this time drilling of the new well which is directed by a floor. But as soon as the drill concerns the earth, the man sees nearby the horse and trying to reach it. Goes straight to a drill and gets a mortal wound. People manage to pull out it from a wounded body and bear in a medical compartment. The chaplain comes when a floor says that it saw the horse and dies. None of drillers can explain anything. And then the doctor conducts to the chaplain to the monitor. It appears David, before leaving, sent her something that asked to show to the priest if that arrives, and if she trusts it. The woman includes record on which the voice appeals to Jesus Christ. Later, Danish announces floor death as a result of accident. It causes grumble of workers. All of them saw it was not accident. Floor approached installation itself, and all this happens because of the planet, because to people here, not the place, therefore workers press from further to find out causes of death of people and to take nevertheless measures for their protection. Fuel to the fire is added by the doctor who admitted that pressure upon a nerve nonsense, and she told it by order of Morgan. People wig out that can lead to a revolt, and it very much is not pleasant to Nash. A time later, the doctor opens Morgan's room for Saint Petersburg, and that finds the confidential message on a wall. And some coordinates it gets into Rover to go to the desert to this point when it is stopped by Sarah. The woman admits that she saw the daughter too, and contrary to the order to Nash releases the missionary to find out what after all here occurs and can find Morgan. At this time further announces alert, and as David Morgan was gone for safety and prevention of a revolt at the station, takes over control of colony. Meanwhile, St. Petersburg goes on the desert and finds a mountain ridge, having risen by which it appears in a cave where find the lake and see the woman who, having cast away a cover, appears his late wife. The strangeness of this project is that, despite high rating and good reviews, Amazon for some reason froze production of series, did not even save its uniforms of Stark, only one pilot series, and about the reasons of the termination of shooting was released. Unfortunately, still it is not known. Put like, write in comments. How do you think the interesting series would turn out or not? And with you there was more Fox we'll meet very soon.